clearly upgraded. What was he charged with today? What was he? It was an arraignment on those charges.
He was originally charged with DWI and leaving the scene of a serious injury crash. Now he's charged with those 2 charges, 2 more theories of DWI. He's charged with reckless driving, and he's charged with 3 counts of homicide, murder in the 2nd degree, and he's charged with 1 count of aggravated vehicular homicide. Aggravated vehicular homicide requires reckless driving, intoxication, and the death of more than 1 person. That's a B felony, punishable by up to 25 years. The grand jury thought, based on our review and the state police work on the case, that the conduct was of such depravity that a murder 2nd charge, which is very rare in vehicular homicide cases, was warranted. And that will be for Judge Doran to review the minutes and see if it's sufficient, and then a trial jury, and then an appellate court. So, you know, there's a long road ahead.
In court, you mentioned the speed. Is that part of the grand jury's decision in
yes,
these murder charges?
The speed, we were able to determine Mr. Saccone's speed for a period of 5 seconds prior to the accident. If you're familiar with the area, what he did was he turned off a Fay Road and he made a right onto Onondaga Boulevard. There's a long curve on that road, and then you hit a straightaway. Approximately at that exact moment when he hit the straightaway, and you can clearly see the traffic light ahead of you, which is almost always red if you're approaching from that direction, Mr. Saccone pressed the accelerator to the floor, and the first reading we got was at 77 miles an hour, and the last reading we got was at 84 miles an hour, and then just half a second before that it was at 86 miles an hour.
So you're pretty confident that you have his timeline of where he was throughout the evening? Because it wasn't just like one bar.
We know where Mr. Saccone was from 7 p.m. until the time of the crash. Every minute is accounted for.
Are you able to talk about that at this point?
He was at various bars. He played pool. He was with some other individuals who have been cooperative with authorities, and stopped at a person's apartment, I think just outside the city of Syracuse, somewhere up in the northern part of the county. And then eventually wound up at Lookers, and left Lookers, dropped his friends off, and then killed these 3 kids.
What specifically about the timeline and those decisions about the speed would constitute a charge of murder?
The people's theory is that this was an intentional decision by Mr. Saccone to speed through that intersection to avoid having to stop at that red light. That was a decision he made. He felt the odds were with him that there wouldn't be traffic there. There was. And the grand jury is alleging that that conduct was so wanton, so depraved, so devoid of any humanity that it's the equivalent of an intentional murder.
Have you seen any precedent for a traffic crash being charged with depraved indifference, or is this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's been done successfully, certainly in Nassau County. It's been done successfully in Albany County, and those are only 2 that I'm aware of, but I'm sure there are more.
Never here.
And I would have to think back, because there was an individual by the name of Philip Haas. It was one of the first homicide cases I handled. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity, but he was found not guilty of murder by reason of insanity, and that was a vehicular homicide, and that was 1977 or 8.
Can you talk about the quantity of alcohol or the blood alcohol content?
The indictment alleges that Mr. Saccone was at approximately a 0.18, in addition to being under the influence of cocaine at the time of the crash.
One of the things